Hey, this is Driver 88. Welcome to another vlog. Today, we've got the first Aston Martin DBX that we've had on the channel. I drove one of these cars 5 years ago, and I've noticed something interesting. The high-power DBX 707 has now depreciated quite quickly, as you could imagine, in the last 2 or 3 years. And I've noticed that they're sitting for around half price for one with just, say, 30,000 kilometers on them. And I've driven lots of these high premium SUV sports sort of things, and the Cayenne Turbo is my favorite. I know this is a GTS, but the Turbo is my favorite. And I kind of feel like my second favorite car might be a DBX 707. There's tons of G63s, Bentegas, Cullinans, everything else, but there's something about a DBX, that Aston Martin badge, mixed with a heap of performance. We'll see if this is as good as I think it is. All right, let's have a look. So you might be thinking, why get a DBX when it has basically a very similar Mercedes twin-turbo V8 and the 9G gearbox, much like these G63s as well as the Maybach 600. What you might not know is that the DBX comes on its own bespoke platform, and it makes over 100 horsepower more than those other two cars, while in used fashion asking about the same price. So the DBX 707, now this shape is about 5 years old now. I think it's aged relatively well. What do you guys think with the looks compared to, say, a G63, the Maybach 600, a Bentayga, a Cullinan? I think it's one of the better looking ones out of all those extra premium SUVs. And it looks quite badass in the 707 spec, with massive wheels, the twin exhaust at the back, and the huge grille out the front. This thing is about 5 meters long, so it's not the ultra big size of, say, X7s, but it is quite nice in its proportions for its category. Let's have a look inside. Let's talk about its performance, and then of course the price. So the M177, this thing has now been ramped up to 697 horsepower and 900 Newton meters. Not only is it incredibly fast in a straight line, I've seen people rip 11.3 seconds to the quarter mile if you can hook up 3.1 seconds 0 to 100. So I remember when this car first came out, and Jeremy Clarkson famously absolutely shat on this thing, but when the 707 came out, this model, people like Chris Harris and Power Slide Lover, people who really attack roads with sports cars, were really quite positive about driving it. So I have relatively high expectations. Let's go. Now, I sit in the back of a lot of premium SUVs that have terribly uncomfortable rear seats. These are really quite comfortable. And also, the other issue is I have a kind of a long body. A lot of these sportback type SUVs have no headroom. This has heaps. We also have very nice leather grips here. And I'm a big fan of the carbon wing on the back too. Call me unfashionable, but whatever. Yeah, this is a lot more comfortable than a GLE. A fair bit more comfortable than, yeah, a whole range of big SUVs. Quite good. So let's talk the all-important price. Well, this car today in 2025, if you want a new DBX, is $460,000 plus all the taxes, plus all the options. And this car today is asking about, I think, $279,000. So practically once you add all those things, you can get a half price car, which is just 3 years or less old. This one has, of course, the 23-inch rims and all the stitching, the massive panoramic roof, the carbon on the inside. So basically a half-price DBX for something that is offering huge performance. Okay, the DBX 707. The thing that stands out to me when I first get into this car is this huge panoramic sunroof. It gives a really nice ambience to the place. With driving these cars day to day, one thing that kind of stands out to me is that you have all of your buttons up here for starting the car and putting on reverse and drive. Whereas most of the time with lots of other brands, you'd have a stalk here or some sort of stalk down below here. So I think for this sort of car, maybe it would be better to have your drive select on the steering wheel, but it's not so much a big deal. Starting the car up with that big engine start button, which is much like other Aston Martins being in the center, has a really nice grumble to it, a really nice feel. And also, of course, that exhaust button And then if you turn things from GT into Sport and Sport Plus, you just feel the revs. And all of a sudden you realize that you have almost 700 brake horsepower under your right foot. If only you could rev to more than 4,000 RPM. Let's take this thing for a drive. Now the insulation, the NVH, given that we have some pretty amazing air suspension and just a really, really good amount of insulation from the outside, everything is very quiet in here, and that accentuates the sound of the twin turbo V8, which does have a really nice grumble to it. We have a Terrain and Terrain Plus mode. I couldn't imagine too many people are doing that though, but just instantly the response from this thing, so that 900 Newton meters is from like 2,200 something RPM. It just gets up and goes. And I really like the way that this handles corners. So yes, it's a big SUV, but I kind of see it as like a large family premium saloon car in a way, just with a bigger boot. It really takes sweepers and corners really, really well. And it's actually a lot more fun to drive than I expected. I've driven a lot of these cars. As I said, the Cayenne Turbo is my favorite, but I think this might be my second favorite because it adds that sort of element of luxury that the Cayenne Turbo is more focused and sporty. The gear changes, the 9G, it's a lot more responsive than previous 7G boxes, I can tell you that. It drops down quite nicely and just puts you into that meter the torque band all the time when you want it. 3.1 seconds is damn fast for a 2.2 ton SUV. You know, this thing will almost rip a 10-second quarter mile while having, you know, 5 people in comfort with 2 large bits of suitcases. You know, it's a lot of fun. It's actually a lot more fun, as I've said, to drive than I ever would have imagined. So my verdict after jumping in, I guess, a lot of these different large premium SUVs over the last few years with Driver 88, I would honestly pick the DBX 707 over the brand new Range Rover SV. Those cars have hit like 400,000 Australian sticker. This car, slightly used, is like well under 300. And I think it feels more premium than a new Range Rover. I don't know, I just wasn't taken by those new Range Rover SV V8s. I wouldn't necessarily pick it over a Cayenne GT. That's kind of my favorite, but I'd pick it over an Urus. An Urus to me, I don't know, I get so many people like them. To me, it just feels like an RSQ8, an Audi. It doesn't feel as special. There are a number of obviously Mercedes hardware in here, but this performance is on another level than some of those. And you can spec it, like there's so many different spec choices from the interior, you can make it entirely your own. But for half price, almost half price, I think this feels like a deal. The looks for me, I mean, look, it's subjective, but I prefer the looks over a G-Wagon, over an Urus, over lots of cars. I just think it's enough different to justify the price, given that they've all depreciated quite heavily. So guys, if you're interested in this car, or indeed any other DBX, get in touch with our friends at Cavallo Prestige. When you're in Sport Plus, the responsiveness of this thing, oh, like the sound, 310 kilometers per hour. It's just like, the front just lifts up. It's fantastic. The brakes are enormous, they need to be. Oh, I forgot to mention, last but not least, the Bentley Bentayga. Would I have one of these over a Bentayga? I do like the W12 Speed. Oh, I know. I like this as well. I like this as well a lot. It's a tough one. It's close to the Bentley Bentayga W12 Speed. I mean, you're not missing out if you buy either one, aren't you? All right, this is Driver 88. We'll see you next time.